changing and all. Fuck yeah. See, I could fake my way through a Billy Talent.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That was great.
Hell yeah. Well, Ian, thanks so much for hanging, man.
Dude, it's
this
great to see you.
It's great to see you too, buddy.
Yeah.
Welcome to Defender of the Riff.
This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
A change of our usual scenery when we hang out.
Yeah.
This time we've got guitars and we're in a sweltering hot tent in Sacramento.
In Sacramento, right from the Tiki Bar in Toronto to Sacramento.
To Sacramento, California. Yeah, we, I feel like just for the sake of people watching, we can get it out of the way. We're hometown buddies.
For sure.
We'd be hanging out back in
the Bovine.
In the Bovine in Toronto. And
the Exciter crew.
The Exciter gang, exactly. Dude, those guys love you.
Oh, they're rad.
Yeah. Fucking A. Well, I'm
Canadian thrash metal, man.
When they told me that I got to hang out with whoever I wanted today, I'm like, we gotta do my Canadian boys. So thanks for doing my show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It's awesome to be here.
Well, this one's all about the real shit. It's about talking about riffs and guitars and the stuff that actually interests us.
Right on.
So I think logically, I want to start at the beginning, and the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of you and guitars is tuning. Drop D. How did you end up adopting like Drop D as the tuning that you would, base a career of records off of?
It literally kind of came out of necessity because I was in my first band ever. I was a rhythm guitarist, and then we had a lead guitarist who was amazing and doing, he did all this amazing shredding kind of stuff.
Is this like pre-Pez?
This is pre-Billy Talent, pre-Pez, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then when we formed Pez, which would end up becoming Billy Talent, I was the only guitar player, but I wasn't really like a lead player, so I was trying to do both. And all the bands I was listening to at the time, bands like Hardship Post from Halifax, like they played Drop D, and Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine, all Drop D, and I just kind of adopted that tuning and then started playing that and covering their songs, and that's what ended up when I was working on original songs, it was always in Drop D, and it just stuck, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Prior to writing and forming bands, what were you really like cutting your teeth on at first? Even prior to playing guitar, like what were the records that were getting you into music and making you think that this may even be something in your future?
That would have been in like the mid '80s. So I was like, I was listening to Iron Maiden. Anybody who had an older brother or sister would have like all of those records, like Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac. So yeah, I was really into guitar rock in the '80s, and that's what kind of led me down this path to wanting to play guitar. I think it was actually The Song Remains the Same. When I watched that film on VHS, it just kind of, I was like, I want to do that.
The saw remains the same.
The saw remains the same.
Clever. Yeah, dude, that is a, live music, the way that Zeppelin did it was crazy enough. But then when they did the visual accompaniment with that movie, that's a game changer.
Yeah, the riding of horses and
insane.
The whole
John Bonham got the coolest dream sequence. I think we can. I think we can all agree that.
Yeah, totally.
Bonzo, dude, that movie's totally a game changer for me. I love that's the one you bring up. That one's crazy. To see how loose but how tight a band can be as well.
Yeah, they're not like super tight, but there's a lot of improvisation going on.
Yeah.
But the power and the chemistry of those guys on stage just like really shines in that movie, and it's what made me want to be in a band and play with other people.
So cool. So was Jimmy Page like one of the OG guitar heroes for you?
100%. Yeah, Jimmy Page and Andy Summers, who ironically I saw last week. He was
awesome.
Doing a thing at the Royal Cinema on College Street. Yeah, showing some photography, playing some guitar, and it was those two are probably my two favorites of all time.
That's killer. And I mean, you mentioned Maiden as well as an influence.
Yeah.
What was the other like metallic shit you were listening to? Like
And Justice for All probably at that time was a really impactful record for me.
Huge album.
Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak. Oh yeah, totally. Oh dude, Blackened.
Yeah, dude, that's the shit.
Slayer, Rain and Blood.
Fuck yeah.
I was listening to a lot of thrash metal at that time. Thrash metal and punk, I guess. That's when I really got into it in late '80s. So yeah, I think a lot of those bands. Yeah.
Were you kind of discovering the shit on your own? You mentioned like a lot of people get into the stuff with older siblings or cousins and stuff. Who was your gateway into music?
I had a friend in grade school, like elementary school. Jason Whitney actually got me into thrash metal. Like he got me into Metallica and Slayer and a lot of that kind of stuff. And my older brother definitely got me into like 70s proper metal. You know what I mean? Like so. And then punk was a whole different. Some of the kids on my street were just listening to Descendants and bands like I think kind of LA bands or West Coast bands at the time, like Pennywise and stuff like that. So
Right on.
I kind of got into Minor Threat and Descendants and all those bands from that. Yeah.
When it came to guitar playing, did you approach it from like the punk attitude of just, I'm gonna fucking figure out how to play on my own and I don't need your help, or did you
Yes.
ever take the academic route at all with it?
Never did I take the academic route, and I kind of wished I did, but then part of me is happy that I didn't, because it just it was definitely a do-it-yourself kind of punk thing for me when I was learning guitar, because I was trying to basically do two things in this band: one be rhythm player and be lead player, and dropping the E string to D kind of led me down that path. And then from that, I feel like I kind of created my own voice from there on the guitar. So it's good to explore things yourself sometimes, and you never know where it could lead you, right? Instead of kind of taking the classical training and theory. I'm glad I didn't have that in this case, but I did have that training in piano before I learned guitar. Yeah, so. That definitely gave me a bit of an understanding and fundamental for music.
Was that like your parents forced you into a thing
totally.
like piano?
Yeah.
Were they musicians themselves? Or?
Yeah, my dad played violin, my mom played piano, and my mom she always wanted me to play classical music, so went into Royal Conservatory, did up to grade 4, and then my dad bought me a guitar for my birthday, my 13th birthday, electric guitar.
Game over.
And yeah, it was like, I can't go back now.
Was there a moment where you think they were like really bummed out that you were going to take the like rock and roll route as opposed to like playing in a symphony type
Yeah,
situation?
I think my mother was definitely broke her heart a little bit when I stopped playing piano, but
you were going to be
years
Ian
later,
the pianist.
She was always very supportive. We rehearsed in my parents' basement for probably a good 9 years, and they were very supportive. Like the noise we were making down there was insane. And then so when years later the band kind of attained some degree of success, they were super proud of all of us, just for sticking with our guns and doing something we were doing since 1993 when we were all like 17 years old.
That's so cool. I think that a lot of people deal with their parents or family in general, like looking down upon, like, oh fuck, my kid wants to be a musician. Here we go.
Oh, I know.
So it's super cool to have that, not only the support of them, but to get to use the space to make noise and cut your teeth. That's rad.
I consider myself lucky in that respect, because I did know like other friends that their parents weren't that supportive of them wanting to follow like a musical path, or be in a band, or it's like you're gonna end up being a drug addict if you play in a rock band, that kind of thing. So yeah, I did consider myself lucky.
That's awesome. So when you're, young Ian, learning riffs, listening to punk rock and metal, were you like learning a lot of covers? Were there riffs that were like kind of helping define who you were as a player? Or were you always like creative and coming up with your own shit?
I think one of my first down tune learned riffs was probably.
Like that's,
yeah,
I mean,
that's Outshine by Soundgarden, and that was like, when that came on the radio, I was like, whoa, that sounds heavy, and it's not metal, but it's this new thing, and it was what they end up calling a grunge. I guess the press did back in the day, but I just took to it right away, and that's kind of the first riff I ever played in drop D.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty easy to fall in love with drop D tuning when you hear Soundgarden and Alice in Chains for the first time.
Yeah. Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. I think I don't think Pearl Jam tuned much into drop D.
I feel like Mike McCready is like an E flat guy, like following the Ace Frehley,
totally.
the Ace Frehley steps. Yeah. But yeah, dude.
Yeah, a lot of those bands, the Melvins.
Yeah, totally. Jerry Cantrell. It's funny. I said I never got into drop D tuning, aside from Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Which is half step and then the drop. But yeah, Jerry Cantrell is like the king of the down tune riff for me, dude.
I'd have to There you go. You got it.
Is that how that goes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm always like trying to transpose like E, standard E like string tunings into drop D, but that one is drop D.
Yeah, that's got to be dropped, right?
Oh, you know the whole thing, eh?
That's pentatonics,
amazing. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, totally.
Jerryisms. I like to call those Jerryisms, yeah.
That's great.
So you're falling in love with the drop D riff, you're learning Soundgarden tunes. Eventually, you know, you start to write your own shit. What's like the earliest, like in that first band prior to Pez, are you creating on your own? Are you like writing full songs in your bedroom and bringing them to a band kind of thing?
In Pez, we were still in E standard tuning.
Okay.
So it was like towards the middle, I guess the middle of the 90s is when I started, I was like, you know, I'm going to try to fool around with this a bit more and maybe I can play leads and rhythms at the same time. And one of the first things I ever came up with was this.
That's that old?
Yeah,
It's
totally.
awesome.
Because you could play like a rhythm chord like that and then throw in a couple lead licks. Yeah, so that was probably one of the first, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
For a guy who says he wanted to take the like punk rock approach of figuring it out and not, you know, breaking rules and not doing it academically, that's pretty like expansive mind thinking for a young kid to be like,
it's kind of weird. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, to be honest. But I knew it sounded good, and I knew I was getting the chords in underneath this rhythm or this lead melody, right? And I was like, oh, this is doing both lead and rhythm, so it's like kind of cool. Like, and then I kept trying things down that route. So it was like,
fuck yeah.
oh wait, wrong key. Yeah, that was another one that
Like
was kind of rhythm
early on
at the same time.
Yeah, that's so cool. You're like it's like the 2-in-1. You're like trying to do two people's jobs at once, literally.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, it's like those guys, you know, now you see
Yeah.
those modern like YouTube guitar players who are playing like the rhythm parts
Yeah,
and the lead parts at
totally,
once.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
all fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
you figured out how to do that.
I think it was, you know, it was probably trying to overcompensate from just being a rhythm player and not really knowing how to do shreddy leads and stuff like that. So it was like, man, I got to do something here, and adding in other notes, and then it just kind of worked out that way.
That's
so,
rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've always, I mean, you know, we always talk about guitar heroes, and everyone thinks about like Van Halen and like guys who like shred and do that. And man, I'm no bullshit. Like from our circle of friends and players, like I've always looked up to you because you have such an innovative way of playing and kind
Thanks,
of
man.
adapting your sound to be the same and recognizable, but always changing.
Well, thank you.
Every one of your
Thanks so
records is
much,
different.
yeah.
We've had this talk many times before.
Yeah.
You know, I hear the
Appreciate that.
nuances. I know you're always changing, but you know, out of all our friends and anyone in the scene, you were really the only guys who came from a true punk rock background that were able to perfect the formula to make music that could appeal to kids who didn't know they loved punk rock.
Yeah, I
That's-
mean, I think it really came from not knowing what you're doing, but knowing that what you're doing together is working and it has some level of musicianship and then taking that and trying to kind of mold it into something that will work, and people are like, I like that song, you know. And at the end, it's like, you know, taking all of that and then just working on great songs until they're really great and they're kind of, you know, people they're singing along to it. That's the most important thing to me. It's always been that way. I'm like, how do I sneak, interesting guitar parts into kind of a pop song?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
yeah.
how can I melt their faces and
Yeah,
also get them
yeah.
to sing the chorus with me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, outside of the band and guitar playing, you're also a really brilliant mind when it comes to understanding producing and putting together a record. How did you start to get into that side of it all?
I think it was, working with Gavin Brown on our first and second record really got me into that whole process of the studio. But even when we were at Pez, I was recording all our stuff on a 4-track, John's 4-track in my parents' basement.
That's awesome.
I was so interested in just the recording process, even though it sounds like shit. I was using Radio Shack mics and and things are distorting and didn't know what I was doing at that time. But that love has always been there for me, and wanting to even do that better and more often is kind of why I still do it and I produce our band's records, produce stuff for the Lazies.
Yeah, of course.
And I just really enjoy doing it. And
so, you were never the guitar player that just showed up to do his parts and then fucked off. You
No.
spent those 2 first records with Gavin sitting there for.
Oh
you
yeah,
watched everything.
I was always really just a sponge soaking in the information and how things are done and lucky enough to learn from guys like Gavin and Brendan O'Brien, who did our third record, Howard Benson we got to work with. A lot of really, great producers, and it's all about being a sponge, trying to be a fly on the wall, not be too intrusive or anything, but learning from them and asking the right questions.
And in studio settings, when you're writing and putting stuff together, are you composing for other instruments? Are you putting together like programmed drums and stuff like that?
Yeah, I generally have an idea of what I want the bass and drums to do when I'm coming up with a guitar riff or something like that, and same with the chorus. It's really important for me that the music, the instruments don't interfere with the lead vocal, and so I always try to play stuff around it, including kick drums and bass and kicks and guitar rhythms, things like that. It's really important to me where they go in the end result. Yeah.
Can you play actual drums? Would you sit behind the kit, or would you always do program
I used
stuff?
to play drums myself, yeah.
So
but I
sick.
program drums now.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, I kind of tell people I can play drums, but I sound like a guitar player playing drums.
I sound like a guitar player playing drums.
That's rad.
I'll leave it up to the pros.
But you'll play out the bass parts and.
I'll program the bass too.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
You're
because I can play with a pick, but it's not the same as Johnny.
You're right.
He's incredibly, so fast with his fingers and incredible bass player. So
that's the other thing about a band is, and this as a songwriter, you can write a perfect song with perfect parts.
Yeah.
But it's all about the people playing it.
Exactly.
It makes it sound like a band. It makes it sound like a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could come up with the most perfect shit, but if the wrong person's playing it's not a band.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm writing stuff, I kind of think of John's abilities especially, because he's so good. He could follow any fast guitar riffing I'm doing and things like that, and the lead vocals as well. Ben and I do a lot of harmonies together, so I know his range and my own range, and it's you can do a lot with that when you know your limitations too.
Yeah. When did you start getting into the singing? Because we're sitting here talking about guitar so much. I think we must also note that you have an amazing singing voice as well.
Thanks, man. I was doing that, I think, in our latter Pez years, because we kind of started out as almost like a rap rock thing, because we were covering Rage Against the Machine a lot, right? So in the early 90s, we were doing that a lot for our first 2 demos.
That was just rock at that point. Rap rock was kind of just rock.
Yeah,
it was just being accepted
rock.
as the norm. Yeah,
totally. Well, we grew up on Bring the Noise and Rage Against the Machine, so it was just rock, right? So we, after 2 demos, I was like, you know what? Why don't we try singing with each other, Ben and I, and adding harmonies in, just to give the music a little bit more hookiness, and it really, our voices together sounded great. So I just started singing a lot more, and
that's awesome.
And I still do now.
Yeah, I mean, like, to bring it back, we were talking about Alice in Chains earlier.
Yeah.
Everyone calls, Jerry Cantrell Guitar God, Guitar God. Hey, let's, like, pull back for a minute and recognize that he's got as good of a voice as Lane Staley as well. Like, his singing makes
incredible.
that band.
Yeah,
For sure.
and you can hear him on all those records, right? He's just,
All
it's
the
a
choruses.
big part of their vocal.
100%.
Yeah.
I find, like, when I'm singing along to an Alice in Chains song, especially if it's, like, Dirt Era,
Yeah.
like, I'm singing Jerry's parts. Like, I'm not singing Lane. I'm singing
Sometimes,
Jerry.
yeah, I know, and I'll sing along, and I don't even know if I'm like, is that a Lane part or is it a Jerry part?
Exactly.
Because they blend so seamless, right?
And at the end of the day, that goes back to what we're just saying
Yeah.
about the right dudes playing the right parts. That's what a band should be. It
Yeah,
should just be
totally.
like one cohesive sound created by a bunch of unique individuals.
Absolutely.
Totally. Let's talk about this guitar you got. It looks like you've
Yeah.
had it for about 1,000,000 years. That fretboard has seen some love. Tell me what's up.
It's probably about 11 years old. It's a 2011 or 12 Fender Strat HSS, so like the humbucker in the bridge pickup. And I love the sound of it. There's something about, I've got like probably about 4 or 5 of these, and this one just sounds like the best to me. It's got a twangy brightness to it. Might be because of this old LSR rolling nut bridge here. It's got like locking tuners. It's I always keep this back
the back
plate up.
open.
I don't use a whammy bar, so I end up putting 2 extra springs just to really firmly kind of hardtail.
Do you like brick it or anything under that, or you just put the extra,
just the extra,
firm
just
springs?
the extra one, so it still has a bit of that like breathy spank to it, I guess, like that
Sure.
Fender Strat spank.
Yeah, the
you know
spank.
what I mean?
I like that. The Strat spank.
Totally, but it's still firmly planted to the board, so it's not going anywhere. Yeah, but
That's awesome.
yeah,
I've noticed before. I've seen you play gigs on one guitar. The
And this
whole,
is it,
yeah, like
yeah.
I've seen you do like the whole show, like
Yeah.
one guitar. Like, it seems like an incredibly reliable beast.
Yeah, generally, like I won't do a guitar change unless I break a string, or unless we're playing a song from our third album, like White Sparrows or something like that, where the tuning was a little bit. I think we had gone C sharp on that.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple songs we went C sharp on. Cure for the Enemy, another song as well. Yeah.
Again,
But,
just to serve that single song and
Yeah.
not do a whole record.
Yeah,
like
so I
that,
don't
right?
have to like tune all the strings, waiting, to play the
Exactly.
songs, make the band wait to play the song. So.
Do you have a tuner in front of you, or you literally just play the guitar?
Yeah, I have one on my pedal board. Like,
And so you'll like check it every
yeah,
once
I'll
in a
check
while.
every couple songs. Like when I get a chance to check tuning. Tuning's super important to me. Like,
Of course.
If I could, I'd check every song, but
Well, that's why some dudes like be changing every
Yeah.
song, like just like back and forth with
Oh,
the tech.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're-
yeah,
I've,
yeah.
I've never seen you do that ever.
no,
like, you're
no.
always
I
like
just,
the one
I
guitar
really
guy.
like the. I guess I just like the comfortability of knowing. I know this guitar. I know inside out, and I know where to play to make the right sounds, and it's just like I don't know. I enjoy playing the one guitar the whole set. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you sat down, you saw we had the 5153s, and
Yes.
you mentioned that like 5150 was one of your OG amps.
It was. It was my probably the first amp I ever bought that was a separate head. I bought the head. I think back then it was like I don't know before pre-Kijiji or Craigslist or anything like that. So it was like in the local penny saver or something like that. And it was just 5150, and it was the Eddie Van had its signature at the bottom and everything.
That's awesome,
But I
yeah.
played that for years. I played it for probably about 7-8 years, and I did love the sound of it. Ended up when we got our publishing deal, we went to I went to Mesa Boogie Triple Rectifiers, and I don't know if that was the right choice for me. We're not really like
No, but they're
Yeah.
fucking fun to
they're so
crank
fun
on
to
them.
play though. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It was like a bigger, ballsier version of 5150, yeah. So I enjoyed that, and then I discovered Stevenson amps on our first record, and a guy in Hope, BC makes them, he hand makes them, and they're called the Mark Stevenson Amplification.
Nice. You're still using those now?
Still using them,
He
yeah.
makes you like a custom one? Or?
Yeah, I
Nice.
got 2 or 3 customs made by him, yeah, 60-watt amps, yeah.
That's rad. We're
Yeah.
still waiting for a DeSauce signature Fender production
yeah,
model.
hopefully one day.
We're waiting. Come on, Fender,
Yeah.
get your shit together. All right. We know you love Soundgarden. We know you're a punk rocker. You cut your teeth on the Descendants.
Yeah.
What's the riff that you know how to play that no one would expect that Ian DeSauce knows how to play? This is amazing.
The Curb Your Enthusiasm
Yes,
riff? There you
yes,
go.
that's the
And so on.
easily the best answer to that question.
I was thinking of
I've
something
ever
that you
received.
would not expect me to play with. I'm actually going to go with The Emerald by Thin Lizzy, because we were talking about
Yeah.
kind of transposing E songs into drop D before, and I think I figured out how to do this one.
Dude, it's so confusing trying to jam that. I say I can't do that shit in drop D. That is
Yeah,
so
I know,
confusing
but you
to me.
know the song.
Yeah,
too.
of course
It's
I know the song.
I had to kind of relearn it in drop D.
Yeah, that's so confusing. It happens to me all the time. So I think that my end goal after hanging and jamming with you is I'm gonna fucking keep a guitar and drop D at home and try and play songs I
Do
know
it,
how
yeah,
to play.
totally.
And as a mind exercise, try and transpose it into drop D.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
That's a great exercise.
They sound just a little heavier.
They do sound just that bit heavier.
They do, yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, tune it down, make it sound heavier.
All right.
That's it. Dude, Ian, thanks for hanging out, man. It's
Anytime,
nice,
man.
Nice to hang
It's
out
good to
with
see
you
you again. Yeah,
here
yeah.
in Sacramento
Yeah.
at Aftershock. Ian Desaw, Billy Talent, Daniel Dekay, Defender of the Riff. Catch you next time.